retirees, and they talked about the Lax County taxes going up quite a bit.
They got it from a couple business people in town. City stepping up. City and county.
Monday the 23rd.
That doesn't help.
It didn't help that the stock market tanked last week.
No, I know.
But it crawled
But
back.
at least it's back up 1,300 points.
Yeah, almost 13, but yeah, that's half about it. Oh, no, it's not quite what it did.
Still,
That was good. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Klobuchar pulled out.
yes.
I'm so.
I'm taking a trip at the end of May, and I don't care if the plane leaves, I'm on it.
Where are you going?
A cruise from Amsterdam down to Basel, Switzerland.
Oh, you're taking a ride?
On a right cruise, yeah.
Oh, nice.
Then over to.
Ben said he was gonna be
Days
back
in
by
October.
6.
Nice.
So, yeah, sounds like.
Here.
The only thing that'll happen, you get seasick.
It's like.
Yeah,
It's like with Minnesota Public Radio.
Eric was here, but he
sponsor
said he was
did
not
its,
coming to the board.
Beethoven's
He was at
250th birthday.
finance.
So one night there's a symphony by.
Well, that's a start.
You can't spell Beethoven,
No,
but
I
you're gonna love
can't.
the
I
right
don't know.
wine.
I don't know. It's a dog.
Yeah, see?
Bark number 2. I know that one.
Call the meeting to order.
There.
Rise for the pledge. Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Jensen's.
All right. The roll call show that everyone's here except for Eric Minks is absent today.
And Ellie.
Oh, and Ellie. Well, we don't know who we're getting, Ellie or
Dom.
Nick.
One of the two.
It doesn't appear that there's any citizen comments tonight.
Yeah, the door was locked.
Chances
No
are
one got in.
not.
Oh, is it locked? Oh, because of the door.
It's open now.
leaking.
Yeah, Michelle opened it, but it's the usual.
All right, board member committee reports. Howard.
The only thing I had is I worked the speech meet here when we had that. And it was kind of nice to see Darren Labs walk through. We had an administrator walk through. The first AD that's ever done that since Rita's been here, that walked through and talked to the kids and saw stuff. That was kind of impressive.
Yeah.
Made the kids feel good.
Got a public engagement meeting with the other board members to discuss the upcoming bond referendum.
All I had was public engagement last Wednesday. Was it? Or no,
Agenda planning.
agenda planning. Sorry.
I had agenda planning, and then last Thursday we had wellness. And we are just discussing some of the things that we just finished up, our health challenge with the district, and we've kind of had low participation with that, trying to figure out a way to jazz that up a little bit. Also trying to get more members involved. We need staff and we need students on that committee badly. And then we just had a finance meeting, so all of those things are actually on our agenda tonight, so we'll talk about that when we get there.
Right, yeah, and all I had was the public engagement with Jim and Sue. So.
I had public engagement and finance, and I just want to draw your attention to the Seed Day at the Capitol. I think you all got that email on April 1st, and I'll drive you people. I was the only one that went last year, so if some people want to go with me, that would be good. I also cannot go to the C Regional meeting on March 23rd. That's a morning meeting, and I'll check with Ben to see if he can go, but at the next meeting, if someone would take my place there, that would be good.
Try to find
Yeah.
someone.
Will be.
All right, we will table the student council report. We won't have one. We will table the superintendent report until Ben gets here. So, do we have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Deb, seconded by Sue. Any discussion?
Yeah, under number 12, where it says board work session, March 18th, that should be March 17th, unless you want to come on Wednesday. It's the wrong date. It should be March 17th.
Okay, we'll make that change. All right. All in favor? Once that date change is made, all in favor approving the agenda?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Discuss and act on the previous meeting, board meeting minutes. Do we have a motion to approve the previous meeting minutes?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Howard, seconded by Sue. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right. Ben, are you ready for your superintendent report?
Sure. I apologize for my tardiness. I was at the American Indian Parent Advisory Group, and yeah, it was very special. Wish I might go back if depending on how quick this goes. We have a big event afterwards for the big read and some reading in the pack this evening. So yeah, it was pretty cool. I always enjoy that. I got to participate in a ceremony where they burn a little sage and you bring the smoke up over your head, and they were just doing a drum. Like a gentleman was singing right as I was leaving. So, all right, what else is going on?
You share it with Sage.
It was in a school building?
Yeah,
It was Sage.
we had
Sage.
pre-approval. There's a lot going on. We knew that this time of year in schools, once we get past the new year and everything that we're doing, we're trying to have continuous improvement for this current year, but tons and tons of planning for next year. Obviously, we're going to talk a lot about budget. This evening, we have been gearing up lots and lots of meetings regarding our referendum coming up. Our hope is to have all of our messaging and materials put together in probably mid-March or before that, slightly before that, so that we can be able to go full out about 2 months prior to May 12th, which would be probably, I think we're thinking March 20th. That's our time frame. So we had a lot of progress made already. I we met with a company this morning about some possible videos that we would create as part of this as well. So lots of different entities working together to pull together the messaging. I do know from having conversations with some of you that that you would like to have kind of a presentation regarding the key points that we're going to utilize for messaging regarding the referendum. And I was hoping that we could spend some time on that at our next work session and share with you what are the key points that we are going to emphasize as we're out sharing information regarding this. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right. We have a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Howard, seconded by Jim. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. On to action. Revised budget.
I think Michelle's going to run us through pretty much the next several items.
So the revised budget, we have seen it multiple times. We went through the general fund last time in detail. The one that has changed a little bit is food service. Michelle made an error, and so we had to put some money back on the expenditure side. So that variance there is a little more negative. Actually, it's basically back to where it was at the beginning, when we approved the original. Again, a good chunk of that is one-time money. We bought the vending machines and a hot serving line for our high school. So the general fund is the second document. It's the building fund, community education, and debt service we haven't touched. The building fund that we went over last time, the big change there was the reallocation of software from the unassigned category into capital to help us go through that process of budget reductions to help us relieve that stress. And then the last document is just a basic explanation, then I high level overview of budget document. So is there anything specific that you would like to discuss at this meeting? Otherwise, we do need a revised budget to move forward.
So Michelle, if I'm hearing right, we've talked about this now for a few months and it's been run through the finance committee. As per every year in March, we approve a revised budget and you're asking for a motion for that to be approved.
I move to accept the 2020 revised budget as presented. Motion made by Eric Stramberg, seconded by Chad. Any discussion?
Just a question, Michelle. If I remember correctly, this is still a work in progress because there still might be some revisions, correct?
Right, I may come back and ask you to
Okay.
revise something else, just in case, if I find some magic. I'm looking for magic.
Okay.
Is this a roll call?
Yes.
All right, roll call, starting with Howard.
Yes.
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 Motion passes. All right, moving on to parameters for 2020, 2021.
So I see we worked hard to make sure that we had all that on finance, but we didn't get it over to,
No, the documents aren't on here.
yeah,
If they go under finance though, they'll see them. They can go
finance
in.
or the previous board meeting. Otherwise I can plug in here.
Let's go into finance.
Yeah, we can just go to
If you
finance.
go back to the board book and go to the finance meeting agenda, they're underneath
We
there.
all have our computers and
Yeah.
the audience doesn't really seem to care about it.
Okay, all right, then I won't work over it.
How hard do you need help?
Well, I'm on the page where it's the agenda, the agenda packet.
Okay, you're on the board view?
Yeah,
Okay, that's fine.
go here.
Go back to the school board. Hit agenda and minutes.
That's what I did.
Yep, go back to the
You're
February
looking-
18th.
Oh, you want to
work.
take it off of there?
Yeah,
Okay.
these are
It's
the-
same document.
Okay,
Jim,
that
you
I
there?
can do.
I think not yet. I'm gonna go to board book. Where am I? I'm gonna go to login here and right here. Correct? Finance committee?
I hate to tell you this, but that all
March
looks blurry to
23rd?
me.
On
Yes,
Monday?
you have it. So
All
the
right.
enrollment pieces are there.
Yep.
Everybody there?
Yeah.
So what should we look at now, enrollment?
Yeah, which one you gonna talk to first?
Okay.
We haven't.
Again, the enrollment documentation has not changed. If you would go to the very last one that's called enrollment projections, enrollment, the one with the word projections, it's the third bullet.
Got it.
We're not too worried about 2020. The number that we are worried about setting tonight is for 2021. We have multiple options down there. We have a school finance, just let it run how they run their tables. And they're projecting about 31. We took the school finance model and then we altered it by moving grade advancing exact. So that model's coming up at 3,100. We are projecting 200K kids in all of these, by the, as a reference. Looking at year end to year end, at the very low end, we're looking at about 3,066 kids. That's quite a jump down. We probably are not too invested in that number. And year end to year end average of 3,156. And also the average of all of these numbers is 3,100, which is the same as the school finance altered number. So we've looked at this multiple ways And from finance perspective, from our office, we can't tell you that we are going to have a positive shift in our enrollment. We are looking from anywhere from 45 to 75, with us leaning toward that 75, or myself leaning toward that 75 number because of just running it through coming up with 3,100, just running it through the whole grade advancement thing. Also and then taking the number of K kids and the number of seniors is about 75 down, so. We would like you to set a number for us regarding enrollment.
The 3,100 is where the finance committee was also leaning to. It's kind of, it's in between the high of 3,156 and the low of 3,066. It's still 75 students. I mean, that's a lot. But
And a question, so you said the high, but that's really the average. What is the high, right? Or is the average the high?
well, of the options we have
Okay.
here, that's the
Okay,
high.
gotcha.
Is there any optimism on the push for kindergarten?
Well, in our census, we have about 310 students that we're sending information to. And so that's the number of students that we could potentially be able to attract to come to our district. Right now, we have 145 students enrolled. It's 145 more than we had last year at this
Yeah,
time.
that's a huge number, right?
It is a huge number, but, so, I mean, there's reason to be optimistic, but there's reason to be not so optimistic too, because,
Just cautious.
I mean, we have literally bombarded families with information, like a dozen or more touch points of postcards, emails, Facebook, social media. I mean, they're getting stuff almost every week. So, we would assume that, people know about it. So I guess we still don't know. I mean, our hope, we think that 200 is
Just being cautious.
a good starting point, but we don't know. I mean, that's why we have to be a little bit nimble and flexible with all of this is we always have to set a budget well over 6 months before we even start the school year, and when we actually know the realities of, so a budget is really always going to be our very best guess.
This is the first year we've really done the recruiting this time of year for
Yeah.
kindergarten. Could it be just the fact that kindergarten is September and we're in March and the people aren't just registering it yet?
Well, that's what our hope is. Our hope is that, ever since this is the very first year that we've asked people to sign up this early. Yeah, we're really gonna know a lot when we do this thing called the kindergarten safari. Safari, if you've seen any information about that, that's gonna be a day that when we're bringing in all of our families.
Yep.
And that should be, after that event, I think we should know if we should be really disappointed or really excited. And that's still a good month away.
I think like April 6th or 8th or something like that.
There's also possibilities with the online at the high school.
That's, that's gonna be something that we're gonna be cautiously optimistic about too. Again, we're taking a calculated gamble, if you will. I mean, we're investing in that program to have it be of the highest quality to where we can get out and market it. Right now,
We
Just-
never have really marketed that.
we
program.
haven't marketed the program, and the reason, I think the real reason being is, you have to have something to market. I mean, you have to have something where you can be honest about what, and not that we don't have a good programming, but we felt like it didn't quite measure up to the standard that we have for all of our programming. We had to continually improve. we feel like we will be to that point where we will be able to set ourselves apart to all the other providers and be something we should be extremely proud about, and then we need to market. I'm going to just tell you, one of the budget dilemmas that we are, just a glimpse into our world on a discussion topic that we have time to time is current year budget. Okay, you all know that we're trying to, do a soft freeze or a freeze, if you will, on current year spending, right? But that doesn't mean we still spend on necessary items, right? When we run that through our filter. We still have some dollars available in our marketing budget, about 9,000-ish. And we do have some needs to start the marketing piece for the online programming yet this spring, okay, timing wise, to be able to get maximum benefits for next fall, to be able to get our back end website and everything directed into the right spots, right? There's just a lot of behind the scenes things that need to happen, which will cost us some money, right? Now with the new referendum piece rolling through, we will need to tap into that marketing budget that we have in place to create messaging and informational items to get the word out on that. So that's a little bit of a dilemma that we will need to struggle with in terms of how we will handle both of those things, given for one, a smaller budget that we have, and then also the fact that we've been trying to limit our spending. But both things, might fall into the need, like we need to do this category.
The soft freeze we've done now with the, if you don't need it, you're not going to spend for it. The finances that are saved through that process, they would roll over into your adjusted budget somehow,
No, at the end of the year, they would be part of,
surplus
it would
balance.
bring us to that 98% for sure, and hopefully a little bit better than that our budget we'd be at like 97%. So since we were surprised with the enrollment drop, when that happens, I always use what happens if you have a major medical expense you weren't planning for in your home life, let's say, and somebody couldn't work. Well, what's the first thing you get rid of? Your discretionary spending. You go through all of it and you get rid of it. Well, most of our discretionary spending is at the buildings levels. We dole out all that money. So in order to slow down that spending, that's why we went to soft freeze. So yes, we are buying things that are critical to classrooms. So we have classes running. I'll use the guitar one as an example. We had 2 more students in that class for this last try. We needed 2 guitars. We're going to make sure our students are taken care of.
Just one other short, because I don't know. Is Spanish immersion, is that advertised, is that an advertised thing?
Well, in our Wild About Kindergarten messaging, there was quite a few references to our Spanish immersion program. Up until this year, I don't know how much advertising we've done.
It was advertised
Okay.
pretty heavily, I think.
I don't know what happened a little bit. So
Yeah.
maybe I think we could always do
Send
better, right?
Send
Yeah.
out stuff to all the way to.
Well, and that's the piece with the,
First year.
with the messaging,
Understood.
the messaging marketing, honestly, just philosophically, the more I've been doing this job as superintendent, I wish we could double or triple that budget, because I feel like there's certain things where you get a return on your investment big time. And like, for example, just bringing in one kindergarten student that family otherwise wouldn't have sent their child here, when you amortize out the revenue that we would receive for that one student, K through 12, it's right around $150,000, right? So if we, spent $15,000 or $20,000 on a significant marketing messaging campaign about Wild About Kindergarten that we'll be able to use for the next 10 years, right? That pays for itself over and over and over and over. And that's the same kind of a thing with, that sure, there are some things that we can do, with the Spanish immersion as well. And then all of our programming, I think we are doing some better things than I think we have been doing, and we will continue to do that and get better at that.
See, I think it was impressive with the parent who spoke last week or last meeting. We stayed here because we had never looked at that before. We looked what it would pull in. We had never heard they stayed here because of Spanish immersion. That put a whole new spin on it.
I think for this topic here, for the board to determine what number you want us to use for our parameters, right, for student enrollment, you certainly, you heard the recommendation from the finance committee, right? And another way for you to visualize that is if you click down to, I think it says initial budget analysis is under 4. I think this gives you the best illustration of what 45, if we use 45 and what if we use 75, what that would mean for adjustments that we will need to make. And this is where I almost would like to have it up on the screen, but if you actually go to that middle, well, let's just start at the top left. That is what our original budget was set for last year. It would be if we had worst case scenario going negative 940, and if we underspent it at 98%, we'd be at 232. That's a budget based upon 3,300 students. All right. Now, when we did our revised that we just are adopting now, that we just adopted, that's based upon lots less students, right, and lots of different adjustments that we made in current year spending, and it can show you the variance in the revised is 1.248, and then of course if we underspend it, it will be at 539, right? Which our hope is to still get to that 98%. So then that brings you to next year. The box in the middle is an illustration of if we adopt 45 students less, and the one on the far right illustrates if we adopt 75 students less. The number to really look at would be
One's 1.1.
what
It should
Down
be.
at the
Okay.
bottom.
it's down at where it says reductions to maintain 10%. Okay, and if you look at the one, if we did 100% of expenditures, right, we would have to reduce 2.5 million this year. If we come in at the 98%, which we think we will, that would be a 1.141 variance. Or so we would have to have about that much of expenditure reduction to budget, so we would stay at that 10% fund balance. That's at 45, and then if you look over to the next box, that's at 75 students, right? And if you go down to the very last red piece where it says reductions to maintain 10%, you're going to see a 2.7 and a 1.3. 2.7 is if we do 100% of expenditures, and the other one is at 98%. So that's the difference of doing a 45 or a 75. And that's, again, making the assumption that we want to make sure that we stay at that 10% fund balance. The one thing what we've been talking around in our offices is we know that we need to be over $1 million in terms of reductions, right? And so it's really where between that and, 1.3, 1.4 are we gonna land? What we need to get to? And if we go with the finance committee's adopted level, you're looking at the 1.3. I would also maintain and let the group know that this one, as just like Michelle indicated before on the revised budget, could potentially be revised. I mean, as we get additional information on these simulations, this very well could change 10 more times, and we could be coming back to you and saying, a variety of different things.
All right. I had a question. So if we decide on the, what the finance committee is recommending, do we know just roughly how long the details before we hear the details? What that's going to look like? Just roughly.
As far as what the cuts
Yeah.
are.
What a recommendation on what are, well, is that something we could have at the work session this month, or would this be after?
Whatever you, with the list is there.
Yeah,
We went through the finance.
I think,
No, because I don't know what you want published. So I'm not gonna say that.
I think that we could probably have a set of items that we could recommend for our first list of for sures, and then we would have a list of maybes. And I think it would probably be irresponsible for us to share the list of maybes if we don't know. So I do think we could share with you the list of for sures at the next meeting. And I'm just gonna advise the board, this is, we voted to stay within our parameters, right, for class size. We're not asking for class size to be increased at all. We need to stay within there. And if you look at the numbers, just the straight numbers, and you do the math, you will see that we could stay in our parameters and make quite a lot of reductions. And I'm going to tell you that we will not be bringing the recommendation that we go to that level. I mean, we feel like though there are certain grade levels that, we will need to have a reduction in sections and, try and have a respectful middle ground on that, because, buildings still need to operate, and there's other variables that we need to consider. Another piece that's going to be tricky for us to be able to share with you at our next March meeting is I don't believe that the high school will have their full registration numbers 100% complete by that meeting. They're just doing their student registration now. And, I don't know that they'll have all those numbers back in 2 weeks.
Would it be better to wait till April? By then you have more resignations, more leaves, a better grasp of enrollment. And I guess I'm asking, 2 weeks too quick? Should we wait 4 weeks?
Well, he's talking about just bringing a partial list though of the for
Right.
sures already.
Right.
The list overall.
Well, I'd like to bring it to the
That'd be nice
board
to see.
by next meeting, because shortly thereafter, we would like to let our staff know that we'll be non-renewed. We'd like to be respectful to them and give them that information as soon as possible so that they can seek other employment. Our goal, and I hope that we can do it, and we're going to try our hardest to do it, is we certainly need to take a look at the positions that we will need to eliminate as a result of our decline in enrollment in some of those grade levels. We'll certainly take a look at the position first, but then we will do everything in our that's humanly possible to try and keep our people, that the good quality people that we would like to keep on staff. We will try and find different ways that we can keep them on staff. And that would be through a combination of, if we have some voluntary leaves of absence that potentially will happen, or retirements, or there will be some areas that we will have some non-renewals due to performance. And, we would maybe be able to replace those with people that would be displaced as a result of the decline in enrollment.
Yeah, just
So,
the usual reassignment because,
Shifting around.
yeah,
still, that's exactly right. We're going to have to say, what are the positions we need to eliminate due to the decline in enrollment? At the same time, we will be sharing information to those that we will be non-tenuring as a result of performance and the principals working with those staff. And then after that is done, and then we take a look at all of the retirements and the leaves of absence. And then there will be lots and lots of shifting and creativity happening to try and keep people.
oh, yeah, you had 3 leaves of absence and 1 with retirement
Yeah.
tonight.
Mhm.
So
That's exactly right. So those, we're mixed emotions on those leaves of absence because those are great teachers, but at the same time, we honor them wanting to take that decision for their own reasons. And at the same time, that really affords us the opportunity to keep some good quality people employed that otherwise we wouldn't have been able to.
When will you tell the staff that they might be reduced?
March 20th is our date that we would like to let our staff know. That's what we've been using in the office. I don't know, Jason, what it would be the end of the world if we had to push that a week, but I mean,
It
we'd like
wouldn't
to.
be, the piece that we really look for is consistency. So last year, that was the date that we used. It does allow our staff members that aren't gonna be with us the opportunity to go out and apply for jobs that are just getting posted now. It also allows us then to post jobs so that we can start interviewing in mid-April versus waiting. What we find tends to happen is if we wait and we don't post till May, then it's June or July before we're getting into our interviews. And some of the better candidates are sometimes.
So then we will know, the board, on the 17th, we will know these.
No, what ends up happening is you guys make the recommendation based on the financial side of it. And then in the buildings, the building principals will work with their staff and staffing pattern. And then on the April 4th meeting, then I bring the non-renewals to you
I see.
as a whole.
But the non-renewals will know on the 20th of March.
Yes, yep. So they'll be aware of it, but they're not officially non-renewed until April 4th meeting.
And so how this will work is we, just like the board does every year, you approve a resolution or directive for the administration to make necessary budget reductions accordingly with the parameters that you had approved. We will give you a list of things that we know at our next work session. It won't be like, these are the people. It will be, we will have, this many sections of kindergarten, which is, 1 less than the year before this year. And, we will be able to show you what that means. And then we will let those people know on the 20th. And then we will have a list of names for you at a later date that there'll be a resolution at the board table. So it will all happen very quickly.
So right now you're looking for
Looking for
a
a
motion
motion
to
approve the
3,100, right?
3,100 estimate.
Okay, I move to accept the 2021 estimated enrollment as calculated by the finance enrollment, which estimates at 3,100 enrollment. More or less, I said that.
All right. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Motion made by Howard and a second by Deb. Any further discussion? Just roll call or?
Yeah, probably should.
Probably.
I don't think we have to, but
All right, let's
For
do a roll call
important-
vote.
it's an important vote.
Roll call vote. We'll start with Sue.
Yes.
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 All right, motion carries. 6 to 0.
Yep.
All right, class size.
So we're done with finance committee. We go back to work now.
No, we
You
got
want to look at the parameters there in the finance one.
Oh,
The
okay.
class size
I see.
guidelines.
They
Class
haven't
size
changed.
are
They're the
gonna be-
same
Yeah,
as
they're
what
the
we
same.
had.
Oh, okay.
No recommendation to change them at all.
I move to approve the recommended class size ranges.
Second.
All right, motion made by Eric Stramberg, seconded by Jim. Let's roll call again. Howard?
yes.
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 All right, motion carries 6-0. Information, we have first reading of some policies here. There's a summary of changes in that link that if you want to read it. Howard, do you want to touch on anything?
Nothing, because most of them were review. Most of them were basically doing just legal reference, cross-reference. The only thing that anywhere was kind of complicated was the service animal ones, because we had one that was, then the MSBA came out with one and we cobbled it together. So we're basically MSBA.
I saw on CNN article that there was a mini horse on a plane. I thought it was funny because we were talking service animals and mini horses are.
And I
service
remember the
animals.
woman who was upset she couldn't take her peacock, but that's another story.
So if you guys want to read through that, you can. It is pretty much just review.
Did the horse have a diaper?
No, but the person did.
All right, election update. Who wants to take that? Not me.
Are you talking about the referendum piece? Well,
You already.
We
You
covered
kinda
it
did
pretty
that.
much.
yeah, I mean, we're in like, it's kind of a think tank of trying to get all the people that are involved in this together, set a game plan. And we're just in the middle of getting all that work done with the goal of being able to have all of our materials created. And we should have a really good idea of most everything at our next work session. And we will basically give our first trial run through on what we will end up presenting to all of you, and we'll get feedback.
Is somebody from Wold going to be meeting with us? Because you said that there were people with Wold who'd be helping to develop.
Well, ICS actually has a division
Oh, okay.
that is really, really helpful.
March 17th is some meeting, I guess.
Because they actually have a marketing
That's their next one.
messaging person that's employed by them. And that's a service that they provide us, is our work with them. And it's the same high quality that we've seen with CEL and some other organization. And we just have that basically as part of our relationship with ICS. So yes, they're a big player in this. We're working with someone different, possibly on a video. And we're also going to be creating many of our own videos too. I'm also going to be meeting with some student groups that have expressed some interest in wanting to get involved and maybe create some days in the life of a high school student videos. So we'll see where that takes us. I have a meeting with them tomorrow. So yeah. So in terms of all of our, pamphlets and one-page handouts and all the different information, we should have something good to share with you in 2 weeks.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
And one other question. So the presentations, I know you're gonna have a list of when and where, when will that be? I know you're probably still working on it, but,
Yeah, totally still working on it.
okay.
Um,
I was just curious, because it'd be good to have, I don't know, whoever knows some of those things to.
Well, what we're gonna be doing is part of this planning process is basically a day-by-day calendar of every single thing that's gonna happen on every day. And some of those things might be who we're presenting to on those days. I would say, as a starting point for all of you, that would be just, you know, in this interim phase is if you can think of any possible group that you could help broker a meeting that we could get on the calendar. So if you have an in with a different association or group of some sort, and if you have an in, right, and you know who to talk to get that in, or maybe it's just a big family, or it could be anything. I mean, we're willing to go talk to anybody. You know, it's just, again, having somebody help make that arrangement, broker the meeting, broker the setup, and then we'll show up. So be thinking about that.
All right. All right, thank you. There's no additions to the agenda. Future meetings, we'll make that date change. There's no policy meeting in March, is that
Nope.
correct? Okay.
Yeah.
All right, do we,
I have one
Go ahead.
more. It's not set yet, so it's not on here, but I did have a conversation this evening with this Bill Whitcomb, who's from the Princeton Township. And they are in their planning stages for paving some roads north of the middle school that would have some impact on our property and possible discussions on some, an easement that they would need for a turnaround. We sat down and had a meeting with the city and the township, and it was a good meeting, but I'd like to sit down with Bill one more time, and I'd like to have a board member or two along with me so that you can represent the board and hear straight from him. And he said he could meet either this Thursday or Friday. So I guess I would just, I don't know if it makes any, sense on what board members, or maybe it's just who would be available. I'm not sure.
Do you know what time?
No, I don't know a time. I told him that, because we just talked right before we came in here. So he said he had some flexibility on Thursday and Friday, and I said I would get to him.
I'm booked on Thursday and
I'm
Friday.
subbing on Thursday.
I'm open on Thursday, actually. If you do it like, late afternoon.
Yeah, it probably would be like either him coming to the office or us meeting at a coffee shop and, him just giving us the information.
Or on Friday, I'm off at 3 on Fridays.
I'm booked Friday, but Thursday would probably work. We should see about Eric too. Eric might be.
Well,
Aaron
how
might
about
be
this?
interested
Look
in
for an
something
email
like
from me, and I'll ask Bill what time on Thursday or Friday works the best, and then we'll settle on time. I'll shoot something out, say, hey, and remember, I think we'll just keep it to 2 people.
Yeah.
Right, so we don't have to post any kind of a meeting, or just be us sitting down. So I would just be looking for 2 people, no more.
Okay.
Your state of the district speech is this week, right?
Yes, at
That's
2:30.
Thursday too, isn't it?
2:30 Friday.
2:30 Friday.
Oh, Friday, okay. So let's put on for Thursday then, with Bill.
Yeah, and really, I mean, honestly, maybe I shouldn't have called it state of the district, because maybe it sounds like it's like too formal of a thing, because my intent isn't to have it be a big formal thing, but my intent is to just do what it says, share information on the state of the district, and it's not going to be any magical thing. It's going to be just complete honesty and transparency and explanation, and trying to share all of the factual information I can, and give information on all of the different things that are happening in the district. I talk a lot about the importance of being a team, and one of the things that causes a challenge in our being a strong team is the fact that every one of our team members generally works at a specific building or a site, and generally don't know or pay attention or have the time to care about what's happening at the different sites, right? So it's just, I think we need to do our best to try and share what's happening, especially when, we know how important our team members are in terms of sharing the message of our district, and if they don't know what's going on, or if they hear things on the street about, hey, I heard this is happening, and they're like, well, I don't know anything about it. You know, it's really, that's our intent, is just give information. And
Will a lot be financial?
yeah, I would say that about, to honor their time, I'd like to keep it to 45 minutes. And I have somewhat of a problem sometimes sometimes I can not even get through the hellos, and then 45 minutes are
Maybe,
done,
yeah.
so.
No, really?
Maybe try to put it on a 30-minute timeline.
It's gonna be, trying to share some education just on our budget as a whole.
Yeah.
Talk to them about, okay, this is our fund balance. Okay, what does that mean? And I think that there's some misunderstanding of unassigned budget that we talk about most of the time, and our assigned budget, and the fact that, like, we can't, there are certain dollars that we have in the bank that we can't spend on paying for educational kinds of things. We have millions of dollars tied into things that can only legally be spent on our buildings and our upkeep and our maintenance. We have about $1 million that's tied to severance for future retirement payments that we will need to make out for people. And, my assumption is everybody expects to get that when they actually retire. So for us to pay them, we have to have money to do that. So we have to budget for that. We can't spend that money, to give raises or to, reduce more class sizes, because if we did, we wouldn't have that money for their retirement, right? So just trying to explain, starting with that, talking about our budget that we just went through now, when we talk about our, what is 100% of expenditures versus 98%, and if we underspend, what does that mean? You're kind of showing them all of those things, showing them our class size parameters, showing them our number of students that we have in our district. I mean, it's like simple things like that that people just don't know, and I think people assume different things.
It'll work.
It's a great idea. What you're
So I
doing.
mean, it's just gonna be trying to, and I hope to God I do a good job, because it's one of those things, if I do a horrible job, it could go badly, so. Pray for me.
Have visuals that work, and don't stand in front of an overhead projector.
So that's at 2:30 on Friday.
Do we have a motion to close the board meeting to discuss negotiation strategy?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
I
Motion carries.
Okay, I can close this out.
You have to restart in one.
Yeah.